Hey YouTube, it's me, Jen, your pudgy picker,
And Kim.
She's laughing at me already. And we are here again for another podcast, Two Sisters,
One booth.
and this is podcast number...
What is it? Number what?
27.
27.
Yep. Are you ready to confess?
Oh my goodness. We have to get that light out of my eyes.
Yep. We're going to make her sweat under the lamp.
Put down
today.
the belt.
So, yeah, us so-called experts have been telling you what you should and shouldn't do for your booth.
Yep.
So what is it time for now?
Well, we have to give our confessions.
So, I know it's difficult to believe, but we are not perfect.
I know, but I didn't want to tell anybody.
So, today we're going to kind of go through and talk about a few things that are our reselling weaknesses.
Our kryptonite.
Yes. Or what do we do or don't do that we need to work on?
We can't go that long on this show.
Well, this is
People are gonna give
just for reselling. This is not our personal inventory. That could take a while.
Yeah, that narrows it down a little bit more.
I don't know. Your inventory list might be a little longer than mine.
I was talking about the resale side, yo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm going to
okay.
smack your sore foot over here in a minute.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. So, everybody makes mistakes. It does not matter how awesome you think you are, how long you've been doing this. You are going to make mistakes. You're going to pick out duds. Things that you thought would fly off the shelf are sitting and gathering dust. It happens. So, yeah. So we're going to talk specifically about us personally. And in doing that, you need to evaluate yourself.
Yep.
You know those quizzes you get in all the women's magazines, that you gotta scribble in your answer and add up the numbers and see where you come in. Mm-hmm. We don't have anything quite so fancy, but...
Yeah. And remember, this is just our personal opinion in our booth. Now, there might be other vendors on the other side of the store or on the other side of the state that are doing just fine in what we haven't done so well in, but it's our experience.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we don't always get it right. And some of this stuff is by, when you first start, you're making more mistakes, of course, as when you get more seasoned.
Yeah.
There's still mistakes that we make. There's still things that we tend to lean toward that we know we shouldn't. So let's start.
Yeah, I know. I just hate to be so hard on myself. I don't know if it's a mistake as much as it is, just
an opportunity to learn.
Because how many times you buy something and it sells, and then you buy some more and it sells, and you buy some more, and then it sits there forever. So market changed. So it's not necessarily a mistake.
I don't think we're necessarily going to get that detailed. I guess.
Well, you're no fun.
We're going to be talking, I think, this is my opinion, for whatever it's worth. I know there's things that I do that I shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And I know I have leanings toward things that I have to stand in the store and talk to myself and say, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, so it's not profitable.
Yeah. So, I think everybody has those different aspects that they know that they probably shouldn't be doing, and you have to have that stern little talk with yourself.
Yep.
So I guess the first subject coming under that category would be buying. Mm-hmm. I think everybody tends to buy what they're attracted to.
Yes.
What they know, what they understand, what they like.
Yep.
What their personal style is. So I think when we first started, we kind of had an idea what would sell because we have awesome taste.
Of course we do.
So people would want to buy
whatever we see is awesome.
That's it. So that's part of it, that you have to kind of open up and broaden your horizons a little bit and think, I got to buy things not just because I like them or I'm attracted to them, but I need to maybe step out of my comfort zone and maybe see the profitability in something else that isn't something I'm naturally drawn to. Mm-hmm. So do you think that's true? Is that like a rookie mistake or?
Yeah, I think to some degree because, I'm a crafter and creator, artistic person. So I tend to gravitate to things for selling and sewing and crochet and knit and
Yeah.
whatever crafts you can do is I'm drawn to it. I want it. I want to buy
Yeah.
it. I'm knitting needles. But that's one thing that in this current booth that hasn't done well for us.
Yeah.
Needlepoint kits. I'm thinking of, unless you can get them like absolutely dirt cheap and sell them dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Things like that. And I still see them and I still want them, but they're not selling. So,
yeah, I think that those things might have done better in our previous space.
yeah.
Just because people were more imaginative and more looking at things and having ideas about things. And I think in our current space, it's a lot of people kind of just want to go in and pick up something, go home and hang it on the wall, and I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's been an adjustment because we had done this for so long before the new place.
We sold a lot of crafty type stuff over there. I mean, we'd have beads,
Oh yeah,
containers of beads, and needles, and knitting needles, and
I would even sell like
crochet
the plastic
hooks and-
canvas. People would buy that.
plastic canvas.
So I mean,
yeah.
you know, the ingredients of making something did really well there.
Yeah,
Fabric seems to be the only exception to the rule.
that's true. Yeah,
I did well on fabric in our old space. I didn't sell as much as I do now, but that's really the only component type item that I think we still do really well at.
Yeah.
In fact, today I went in and we got our paycheck, and today was the first day of the next, cycle of our paycheck. And there was I look in the basket back there and there was a whole bunch of stickers, good 8 to 10 fabric stickers. And one of the ladies said, man, somebody came through with a lot of your fabric today. So fabric still seems to be the exception to that rule for us. But like you said, when you see something, you're like, especially when you have a craft that you know and that you love, you know how expensive that is.
yeah,
And you look at it and go, holy cow, that's a really good price.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
that can be a little bit of an issue. But you know what? If you're selling on eBay too, that's a good thing, because then you have more than one place to sell something. I mean, you can go shopping and look and say, that's a really good price. It might sell on eBay, but I don't sell on eBay, so I'm not going to buy it because it's not going to sell in my booth.
Yeah,
And
Big difference.
that's hard to do.
it is. Yeah, I was thinking something else is, and I think it's because of Mom. Mom always loved going down to Amish country,
Yeah.
which, I mean, for us, it's like half-hour drive, if that.
Yeah. Not far at all.
Not far at all. And so she was always drawn to Amish dolls and Amish paintings.
The clothes.
The clothes and everything.
The bonnets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and, that was one of her favorite things. We'd always take her down, and this time of year.
Yep. In the fall.
We'd be coming up on that probably next week. When the foliage is at its peak for color and everything, and take her down, and we go to Mespo.
Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia. Bet you can't say that twice. But anyway, so I'm drawn to, I've got a couple of pictures that are drawn by a local artist. And they're Amish pictures.
Yeah.
But I'm having a hard time selling those too, so I ended up bringing those back. I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd have thought, and it's handmade. It's by a prominent artist in this area. I mean, in the price, I didn't have the price all that big on it, but I don't know. I can't. The Amish stuff doesn't sell that well around here.
You know what? That's funny that you mentioned that, because I think a couple years ago when we went down, there was a garage sale, and it was at an Amish family's home, and they had a whole bunch of dresses, like little girl dresses.
I remember that.
And she had like a quarter on them.
Yeah.
And I scooped them up. I ended up listing them on eBay, and I didn't get as much as I thought I would. I was thinking I would do so much better on them. I don't know why. I just had this in my mind that, it's... But I don't know. I guess it's just one of those things, but I thought for a quarter, crying out loud.
Well, I think the thing you did good at that garage sale, wasn't there a little boy's coat or something little suit coat or something that you bought and sold?
Yeah. So, I mean, to see...
But then again, that's eBay. We're not talking about eBay today.
Know. Well, but you know what you think? If you had an antique mall in an area that had
exactly
the Amish that were very close, you would be able to source more Amish things because of garage sales and other things, as well as selling it because people who are there
would
or
be
come
looking
there
that.
for that reason,
Yep.
that they would see that, and that
Yeah.
would mean more to them. So that's another location
Yeah,
type thing.
Yeah.
Now, is this one or two things or a list? What things do you buy that you shouldn't buy anymore, but you still see them and think, I'm going to get that, and you have to tell yourself, no. Now get specific with it.
Oh yeah, that's the one thing I was having a hard time.
Yeah.
It's
because we talked about the cross, like
Yeah, that's
different
one of
kits, craft kits.
Yeah, it's this sewing and craft and sewing machines.
Oh my gosh.
They're multiplying.
Yes,
in my
they
house.
are. In fact, there's one that's in the living room right now. I'm looking at it.
Yes.
You can reach over and touch it. It's that close. Yeah, so it's sitting right there. Yeah. But you know what? It's when you have an appreciation for something, like we said, you see it and you go, wow, that's a great price, or that's a really good brand, or, certain brands of sewing machines are really, they're workhorses. And they last a long
I'm just
time.
counting in my head. I think I've got probably, and I know it's not as bad as some people, but I think on my property I have about 7 sewing machines.
How many do you actually use?
2. But that's why I got this one, because this one's supposed to be a workhorse. If I can get it running and everything's good, I'll be using this one too for heavy stuff like jean material and stuff.
Or upholstery type fabric.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man, there's
not
nothing.
stress out the
There's nothing
newer
worse than trying to sew through something thick, man, and it doesn't work.
Well, the thing is, I got a couple that aren't working so good, and I can't. It was like, for the price you put into one to get it repaired, I don't have a close place here to get it repaired.
Well, I know a couple of them were auction finds.
Yes.
Because people are like, they're like $5, $3.
That's what I paid for this thing. Nobody wanted it.
Yeah, the one we're looking at now is in a cabinet.
And it's a Singer.
Oh, yeah.
It's an old Singer. It's beautiful. It's sort of a lavender color.
Our grandmother, my dad's mother, had one.
It's in the garage.
What brand
I
was
still have that one.
It's the green one?
Yes, it's green.
She got that from a school that had it as part of their home ec program, and goodness gracious, she put a lot of miles on that thing. Well, and that thing was a workhorse too.
Yeah, and it's in a beautiful maple cabinet, beautiful maple, and it opened up 2 arms on it, just straight out like a table. Oh, I like the cabinet.
Yeah.
In my other house, I used it just in my living room with my plants and things on it.
She was an awesome seamstress.
Yes.
And she was the kind of person, she sewed like she cooked. It wasn't a pattern, it was a necessity. It was, I happen to have this on hand, and I happen to need this particular thing. Somebody had given her like 3 or 4 sets of sheets or fabric.
That's not what I was grinning about.
She had a sheet set, and she made like nightgowns. And we
Yeah.
joked about her laying there and blending into the sheets.
Well, one of her sisters was an exceptionally large woman.
Yes.
And she would give her clothes.
Aunt Clara.
Yep, and she would give her clothes, and she would remake them to fit her.
Because Clara was at least 2-3 times bigger than...
Oh, my. She was...
Yeah. She was rotund.
Rotunda.
Well, the other thing is, our grandmother had a lot of sisters. And back then, you didn't go out and buy bras. They used to make their own bras. I know we're totally off subject, but I think it's fascinating that you do that because,
you can still get patterns for underwear and bras. Even on the internet, you can look them up. They're available.
So, can you imagine?
No.
No.
I am a utilitarian person. And that's another thing. That's another thing I buy a lot of. Now that you said that.
Yes.
Utilitarian. Things that are useful. Buckets. What in the world?
Buckets, colanders. Oh, my goodness.
Butter bells. Oh, every time I see a butter
bell,
bell, I have to buy a butter bell.
Okay, if you don't know what a butter bell is, you need to Google it. And
Yes.
you will see what a butter bell is.
Yes, so, yeah.
But, you know what? We've always been that way. I think especially, with our dad and his mom, Grandma Pearl, that she was very...
Yep.
She was very...
Frugal. Thrifty.
She was frugal, but she was a salt of the earth kind of person in that if you couldn't eat it, if you couldn't plant it to make something to eat, if you couldn't use it for a chore, if it didn't serve a useful purpose, then she didn't want it.
You're her twin.
You know what? It's But I mean,
That's a whole nother podcast.
She really was a salt of the earth.
Well,
kind of person.
you know, Grandpa had his shirts. She'd repair his shirts, and then she'd repair his shirts more. When it would get, the sleeves would rip, then she'd make them into short sleeves. And then when it got into short sleeves, then she'd make them into a skirt or an apron. And then when that would get too bad, she'd cut it into strips and literally had a rag mop that she used to mop the floor with. So, yeah, it was like until it fell apart and disintegrated into nothing.
But you know what? A lot of people like that, really, they did it out of necessity. They didn't, oh, well, I got a hole in my shirt, let's go to the mall and buy a few more. I mean, you didn't have money to do that. And it was a whole different lifestyle because you couldn't afford to go out. I mean, you literally didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. Yeah. I mean, when people say they're poor now, they're not poor. Not the way our grandparents were poor.
You still got a cell phone in your hand. You're still watching cable on TV.
Yeah, and I've talked to people when we've traveled to other countries and have said, when you're poor, you still have a house, you still have a place to live, you have a car, you have a TV, you have a cell phone. It's being poor, you know, it's a total different story. But let's get back on subject here. Woo! Okay, I'm stepping off the soapbox. Yes. I'm going to just set it over here because I'm sure I will need it again.
That's what. Don't set it too far away. Yeah. That's one of the things that I tend to gravitate to, and sometimes they sell, but a lot of times I have to stop and really question myself because it's a utilitarian item, and is this something that someone else is going to want?
Well, you know, for every item that you pick up, there is somebody out there that wants it. Now, whether that person's going to walk through the doors of our antique mall, because I know that we've talked about this before, a huge draw to what we do is people reliving memories. Yep. And when you see those things, you think of your grandparents or your parents or you remember them using, that bowl to make a particular food item. Or you remember all those things, and that's the memories and the nostalgia is
it's an emotional attachment to things.
Yeah, it's a big selling point. Yeah. So, you have things, I'm sure everything we buy, somebody wants, but whether they're going to be where we have it being marketed, that's a different thing. But when people see something and they have that attachment to it. Going along the crafting thing is rubber stamps. Oh. I have a problem buying rubber stamps. They're so cheap. And
hi, I'm Jen. I buy rubber stamps.
That's me. Hi, Jen. I've been buying rubber stamps that don't sell for a long time.
Well, I was going to say, that was one of those trends that kind of has fallen. They're still available, but have fallen to the wayside.
You know what? You'd go into the thrift or the craft store, and there'd literally be one aisle, both sides, all the way down.
I worked in that store. I know.
And now you got maybe a 2-foot section, one little. So what I think I'm going to do with the ones, I literally, the basket has probably 50 of them in there. And they do sell. Occasionally somebody will come in and buy 10, 12 of them.
It's probably some 60-year-old woman who still enjoys doing it from when it came out.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to eventually have to take those home and then group them and just put them on eBay or something. But the point is, that's something, I see it and I'm like, oh, look, they're new. They're not even, I know it's that brand or this brand. It means they're higher quality. They have a nice wood block on them. Yeah. And I have to stand there and go, Jenny, they're not selling. Put it back. Let someone else buy it and take it home and play with it. So that's something I definitely do, pick up on. Colanders. I love colanders. They do sell, but they don't buy them like I'm buying them. I can't, siphon them out as much. I just took one out today.
I have 2 of them sitting there.
Yep. I have one I just took out today. It's red, and it's between the 2 sizes that you have there, and it has holes on the bottom, and then around the edge it had different beans and corn and stamped into the metal. It was very cute. So we'll see how that one does.
Well, the one there with the strawberries is a telefloral. A telefloral arrangement was originally in that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it had a marking on it. So I have it sitting there with apples in it right now.
You know what? I think I have 1 or 2 at home, and I keep my tomatoes in them as I get my tomatoes. Mm-hmm. and then I have a little baby one that I put my garlic in. So, I mean, but
Very
that's,
useful.
yeah. So, I mean, we're not saying that they don't sell it all for us, but the amount that we find that we're drawn to, that if we bought them every time we liked them,
Our
they're
booth
not
would
going
be
to,
full of them.
yeah, that they're not going to sell at that pace. But that's something
Yeah.
that I'm always drawn to.
Well, I used to do books too, and
Yeah.
had to kind of pull away from those too.
Yeah, I've often wondered how books would do in the mall we're in now, and I mean, like,
And once again,
nonfiction,
Yeah.
like, how to and craft type books, how those would do, but that's a commitment of a space.
I was going to say they take up a lot of space and they're heavy.
Yeah.
And as easy it is to Google and buy books online anymore, there's still people like me that I like a book. I'm not a book reader. I'll tell you that right now. Please don't make any nasty comments. But I'm a busy person, and I would rather be doing and creating than reading a book. Reading, to me, is just a waste of time. I'm sorry. My name is Kim. I feel it's a waste. You can enjoy it all you want to. I don't care. But when I look at a book, I'm looking at a how-to book. How to garden, how to homestead, how to sew, how to whatever.
Yeah, I've always been more drawn to those type of books,
So, and even then, I won't buy a book unless I realize that this is an awesome book and I want to keep it around.
It's a reference,
reference.
where you're going to continue to look at it.
So I have bought a couple books from Amazon or whatever. Like I bought one that was all types of foots and attachments for your sewing machines. Because I got a whole box full of them in there, and I'm going, I don't even know how to use half of these things. So I do have that reference. But I mean, in general, for me, it's easier to go online and Google it or whatever. So, but I know there's some people who have library rooms and boxes full of books that love them.
Yeah.
So you have
So,
to find the right ones.
yeah, that's something I think too that we did in the old space. They did okay. They did less than okay, actually. So, stepping out of your comfort zone, and I think sometimes too, because I know what I'm drawn to, I know what I like to look at, I know what, makes me happy, and, that kind of thing, and what I like to look at on the walls, and, I mean, I've said this before, our booth is very much our personality, but sometimes you have to, if you see something or you don't know what something is, maybe, look it over, figure it out. Is there something in addition? Is there some kind of art that you could buy to resell because it's a good price, but it's not necessarily your style. It's not anything you would hang in your house. That's that kind of thing, something that you can make the money on, but it's just not your cup of tea.
Yeah.
Because I think we all of us tend to buy things that we love and are fascinated with. And that's good. And if you really like something, more about it. But,
you could be walking with 5 other people that are vendors there. You could walk into the same garage sale, barn sale, whatever, and you'll spot something the other person would never see. Just walk past it, and vice versa, because that's what you're drawn to, or it's your thought process or your knowledge.
Yep. Yeah, because I've seen other people who are vendors. I've seen them at garage sales. And I know the ones I'm like, oh, I better hurry. And then, and then most of them I'm like, no, I know what type of items that they sell.
And that's why we don't shop together.
I know, because we're very similar in that way.
Yes.
We'd be tripping each other and racing each other up the
I think
up the
we'll go to
driveway.
auction. I'm like, oh, did you see that? Yeah. Did you know that's worth so-and-so? Really? Oh, yeah. And then you're looking at me like, why aren't you bidding on it? And then it's sold. Well, I was going to get it if you were going to get it.
Now I say, you think you're going to buy that? Oh, no. I like it, but no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, because I don't want to step on her toes, So that covers a lot of buying. So ask yourself, what are you picking up? What are you purchasing that you probably shouldn't?
Yeah.
So kind of, change that up a little bit. That's some of our weaknesses. Talking about, we have a single space now. When we started at the other place, before we left, we were at a double booth.
Yep.
So it was 20 feet by 10 feet or 200 square feet.
Yep.
And we were maybe a year, you think we had that? Or maybe a teeny bit more?
I was going to say, it was real close, one way or the other, but it was probably around a year.
Because I know toward the end of when we were going to be closing that space, I felt, my own personal feeling is, it was a chore to keep it full.
It was a lot of work.
Yes. And I felt like the quality, in my mind, was slipping a little bit for the sake of quantity.
Yeah. And I was never 100% satisfied with the setup there.
Yeah. It was awkward.
Because once again, you don't have the monies to go in and fund a whole.
Plus, we had a
booth
pole
stuff.
that wasn't even in the center of the booth.
Yeah.
So.
Offset and dumb spot.
So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Because we went in, we had a single space. Then we had a single and I had a half space. Then we had the single half space and I had a locked case for a little while.
Yeah.
And then we went to the double space.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think we should have upgraded to the double space?
At the time, that was a natural progression.
Okay.
Because we started off and we took a little while filling and getting used to the one booth. But then that booth started quickly filling up.
Yep.
And then you said, I need more space. I think I'm going to, see about another one. And you got that other half a booth that somebody else had, half. So you shared that with them. And then that worked for a while. And then you're like, I'm really getting tight in both booths. Then you got the jewelry and you did the glass case. And then after a while, that didn't work out so well. And you closed that one. But then we didn't have a place to sell off what you had in the booths.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I keep thinking, I'm thinking maybe I need to get another booth, but as much as I want to do that, I'm thinking I'll end up in another spot and then we won't be working together and we're going to be spread out doing,
Well, when
more
we got
booths.
the aisle that we were in, where we had the full booth, across the aisle were half
Was
booths.
the half,
So we were able to I could be in that half booth,
Yep.
she could be in the full one, and we're still yapping.
Yep.
So
then that's when you mentioned it a couple times, and then when you mentioned it more than a couple times, I knew you were seriously thinking about it.
yeah.
So then that's when
Because I'm in there going, I can't find a place to put anything.
So that's when I said, why don't we get a double booth instead and just combine them? And you looked at me like I just spoke a foreign language to you. And you said, really? And I said,
was surprised.
I said, really? It's just, if you want more space, it would be silly to keep spreading out. If it's all in one spot, it's easier to do in one spot.
Can you imagine having to have, even if we would have had 2 full spaces, there's no way they would have been anywhere near each other. We would have been putting miles on walking back and forth and back and forth.
When we sell the same kind of thing, it's not even like some vendors, they have more than one booth, but one is set up with a certain type of thing, or vintage,
a certain
antique,
style,
and then they have another one that but weren't like that. And I think it would have been very difficult deciding what goes here and what goes there.
Yeah.
So that's why I suggested that, but if I remember correctly, you were surprised because you thought it was odd that I would be willing to pick up and move and do everything and get everything all in one spot.
That was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, and we did it all pretty much in one day.
Yeah.
We're good.
We painted because the color of the booth was like a
School bus yellow.
orangey yellow, and it was, it probably glowed when lights went out at night. It was so hideously bright.
Yep.
But, man.
Yep, you got it started painting, because I don't remember why, but I couldn't come out to help you or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So
but like you said, it was a natural progression. And I just think, there was a lot of factors of why things weren't so rosy or weren't going so well there. Plus, we knew that this new place was going to be opening, and we knew we wanted to be a part of that. And we knew that we were essentially at the top of the waiting list. So we knew it might be a couple of months, at least 2-3 months before we, got our foot in the door, literally got our foot in the door. And the personality of the owners at where we're at now, and we had a relationship with them, we knew them really well before they opened their store. So, it was definitely, it was an excited feeling to want to be in there.
Yeah, if for no other reason, even if you take the personalities out of it, we knew, everybody has their plus and minuses and their personalities and their abilities. But we knew they already had been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
They knew the business. So it's not like just Joe Smo going, you know what, I think I'm going to start one of these joints.
Because there's a learning curve there too.
There is. So,
Yeah.
we were comfortable in knowing that these people have been doing this a long time. And so they have an understanding of the process and everything that it takes. So if anyone's going to make it work, it's going to be them.
Yeah, I think too when we talked about it, as I said, I thought the location was very good.
Because it's so close to your house.
Well, it's got a lot of drive-by traffic.
Yeah.
It's in a shopping, center, like mall, not a mall, but a strip mall. And it was, we talked about it and I said, they know what they're doing. They know how to run the business. And it has a good location. What else could possibly, you don't want to say what could go wrong, but what could go wrong? I mean, they picked out a good spot. They knew what they were doing. They hit the ground running. People knew them. The place was full before the doors even opened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a lot of things coming together. And
there was just so much going on at the time in my life, in your life. There was just a lot of things going on and demands, and you moved further away, so it was more difficult for you to get out this way, and the demands of helping with Mom was more, so that took up a lot more time. So there was a lot of deciding factors on it. But, but as for the booth, I think it was just, sometimes you have to say yes and take that step. And one or two things is going to happen. It's either going to fly or it's going to sink.
Flop.
Yeah, so it's one of those, it was a learning experience for us because we learned we already understood the work behind it, but we learned where our limitations were. We learned our strengths and our weaknesses.
Yeah.
And we learned when we were getting stretched that far, like you said, that the quality was going down because you needed the quantity.
Yeah.
So you learned exactly a few more boundaries than you had in the first place. So I can't say it was a bad experience or it wasn't a good decision because we learned a great deal from that experience.
Well, and we never didn't make our I mean, we did well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we moved and we weren't making enough money and we were panicking. I mean, we've never had that going on.
Yeah.
But
thank goodness.
It got to a point where, especially the amount of work days we had to do, because we had two spaces, it did get to be too much. And when we stepped away from that, we had 3 or 4 months before we got into the new place, and that gave me the chance us to source during the summer, and that's also when I built up my eBay business. Mm-hmm. So, we'll talk about it now. We've been at the place 2 years. So so once in a while we'll say, you think we ever want to get a bigger booth? And my instinct is no, because I do have that second business going on. So I know that.
I mean, an extra foot of space wouldn't hurt because, what I mean.
We'll just shimmy that wall over when nobody's looking. Yeah.
Because, it would be nice to have that little extra room to walk through there a little more comfortable, but I would absolutely no way think about bigger than a booth and a half.
Yeah.
I just don't think that would be something we could physically
No, because we would have to work.
There
would be the extra days. So that's something we have to consider when we're doing this, because our mall is a co-op situation where we have to physically be there for a certain amount of work days. We're not a place where they have employees, so we can have as many booths as we want, and that doesn't change our obligation other than money.
Yeah.
I mean, and you think, well, wow, with a single space, we're each working 1 day a month. You think that's not a big deal, but I know. As much as I like being there, there's times I'm there and I'm thinking of all the things I could be getting done at home.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
So for us to each work 2 days a month, it would be too much. That would be what we did at the other place.
Well, even thinking, because through the holiday season coming up, we each have to add an additional day. Plus, they're doing that Customer Appreciation Day, which she reminded, because I haven't signed up specifically on that. But I told her, I said, I always volunteer to come in, because that's volunteer. That doesn't count towards.
Yes.
And I said, I always volunteer and I always come in. I said, but that's far enough out that I don't want to make that commitment quite yet
Mm-hmm.
because I do have other obligations too now that I didn't
Yeah.
have before. So
Yeah, so I agree with that. So, yeah, we're working we have to do, per our contract when we signed up,
yeah,
we have to work an extra day after Thanksgiving through New Year's. It's not through Christmas, it's through New Year's.
Yeah.
So I signed up for my days. She already signed up for her days. So, but that's, that's a more of an obligation. So it's not just, well, if we get a bigger space, we have to have more stuff, or we pay a little more money. We have to pay a little more in our time, and that's pretty precious.
yeah.
I know that's certainly how I feel. So selling, when we have things in the booth and we're selling things, what errors or flaws are we making with that? Because I could think of a few for myself personally.
Just, well, sometimes being in a rush, too many weeks in a row, and just setting stuff where there's an open spot.
Yep, you're like, I'll just throw this there.
Yeah, oh, there's a spot, I'll just set it over. But then you walk in, like just recently we were standing there and I'm looking going, oh man.
Yeah, we kind of had
Proceeds.
everything kind of grouped, and things are kind of just,
They gravitate. I don't know.
It's-
They get up and move in the middle of the night.
you
I
know,
don't
I'm one of those people that if I had to eat off of a prison plate that's got all the sections, I would be perfectly happy. It's like putting everything on the plate and everything starts kind of moving and mixing, and you're like, no. So, I mean, that's, and that does, like you said, after a while, you look and you go, ooh.
Well, you know how it is. I got to run this here, and then I got to go by the bank, and then I got to stop and do this, and then I got to come in, and I got the meeting, and I got the. So you're just like, I got to get done, and so you tend sometimes to just stick things.
Well, when you go in, everybody's like, hey,
Yeah.
how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. So you get talking to people, and I know, stuff happens. It's just the way it is. You
Yeah.
get yapping, or you go over and you want to look around and see what other people are selling, and, it's like getting on social media. Your time just flies, and you're like, I had things I had to do, and now I didn't get them done because I was messing around.
Talking.
Yeah, so I know one of my reselling flaws in this aspect is I do sometimes let things sit too long without marking them down or taking them out. I detest having to take something home again. I
Yeah.
just do. I mentally fight it. I just don't like it. I don't like the idea of dusting because that means things are sitting long enough to collect dust.
But dusting the shelves that get dusted. It
I
doesn't mean the
know.
item. It's the shelves.
I know.
They
It's
don't ever
just, and I look at something and I go, boy, that's been here a while. It's not really selling. I could think of something right now because I looked at it when I was there today. It's a big metal leaf that's hanging on the wall. It's like a decorative leaf. And I keep looking at that thing. And
Put
I
it
keep
on
looking at that
Craigslist or
thing,
something, get
and,
rid of
So, but I don't know. I just mentally, I
Excuse
just
me.
completely fight against thinking I got to take that home. I don't want to. I don't like to. And darn it, I'm not
Right.
going to do it.
Because in the back of your head, you're like, I'll just leave it another week because I know as soon as I move, pick it up, it's going to sell.
No.
Somebody will want it, and then you come
No.
back the next week. Just
Still there.
Let it sit another week.
It's still there, still looking at you.
There's a couple of things that have been there since we put them there when you moved in.
You know what we should start doing, since we do the booth tours periodically, we should sit and watch them and make notes. Well, that was there 6 months ago. It's time to get rid of that.
That's about right.
There are a few things. I have that needlepoint hex signs things and that real primitive frame. That's got to go. There's just some things that have been there, and it's like... And sometimes you will buy stuff and you price it and you hang it up, and then you look back on it and you think, what was I thinking? Why did I buy that? Or sometimes you just think, yeah, that was a great, awesome thing to find, but you're the only one that feels that way because nobody else is buying it.
That's true.
So, I mean, I have to get to a point where I should set aside 15 minutes each time I'm out there to mark some things down. That would probably be a good solution. To mark something down and then maybe, I don't know, just kind of keep an eye on how we're marking things down, and if something's been sitting there a while, then even if it's been marked down, it's time to just it's time to just take it off the wall and hang something else.
Maybe on the end of your, your number at the bottom of your sticker.
Oh,
put a
in the stock number area.
Yeah. Maybe the letter before, the letter after. Maybe the letter after for searching would be better. And put the month or something, a number, 5th month, 6th month.
Yeah.
Just a little note.
Maybe make that date when it needs to be pulled. Because then you could look at it and say, the expiration date is hit, it's time to get rid of it.
Yeah.
No more excuses.
Yeah, give you an idea.
Yeah, you got, that is definitely something that's definitely something I need to work on, because I just keep, like you say,
we need to put an expiration date on it.
That's what I'm saying.
A sticker like they have in the store.
Like, you put, like, let's say if we mark it now, then we can put, 12/17 and think, well, if it doesn't sell by December, it's just got to go. Or I would see, then I think about it too, and then I'm like, probably in January we're going to have a lot of stuff marked down in the front. We'll make our display a clearance area, and at that point, if it doesn't sell from that clearance area where it's marked down, then it needs to physically leave the building, because it's just not.
But see, then and when you're saying that, though, my thought process is, that's a really good idea, because everybody looks for a sale at that time.
Yeah.
But that means that meantime, we have old stock that's been there, possibly up till 2 years, that's taking up room for something else that could go out and possibly sell way before
fourth
that.
quarter, when this is like
yeah.
hot season.
Yeah. So when you take it out to restock after all the sales,
do you think we should pull those items and then mark them clearance, and then January just bring them back in? I know that requires me to take them out of the store, but
I know, but that kind of in the back of my head, because then think of it this way: you guys are hearing our thought processes. This is what this podcast is about. Because that kind of crossed my mind too. The thought of, if then some of that stuff isn't gonna. It really, you're going to have to mark it down a great deal just to blow it out. Yeah. But at the same time, that would be an incentive for people to look and go, wow, that's great. That was how much, and they cut it down less than half to get rid of it. Yeah. And that psychology of, wow, look how much I'm saving, kind of let me dig around and see what else. When you hear a booth is 50 cents or 50% off or something up there, what do?
Oh,
Which
you
booth
go there
is
and
it?
look around, yeah.
You look, and you're looking at that stuff going, this is a bunch of crap. There's got to be something here I could buy.
But there's got to be some crap I need.
That's right. Because I do it all the time. And thank goodness I haven't bought anything. But, so,
you know
maybe
maybe in the next couple of weeks, we could, make a goal to, each week when we're there, pull 5 things. To just walk around and say what needs to go at this point.
Before we put them in a box, why don't we put the sales sticker on it right then?
I'm thinking I might just put it in my bin, and then when I take it home, mark it down, and then put it in a box. So when it comes up, when it comes back out, it's just a matter of throwing it on the shelf.
Yeah, I was going to say, as long as it's done before it's put to the side, because then when it comes time, you're not going to.
Then you're like, oh great, now I forgot.
Everything.
I got to sit and reprice it. Now I got to take it back out. Yeah,
so
that's a good
process
idea.
And if you're only going to pull a couple of items each time, it'd be just as quick to take it while it's in your hands.
Well, you know what? To make it to take at least 5, and then you start getting on a roll and you start picking up more stuff. That's kind of how I'm thinking. So I think that's what I'm going to do for the next couple of weeks. Is just start
when you get it
pulling
home,
stuff.
You have one spot to put it.
Yeah.
And then when time comes, you can just pick up that box. And
that's a good
take
idea.
It out.
Yeah, see, this is how we work things out.
Yeah.
And when you have a partner or somebody who understands the business, it makes it a lot easier to kind of
things off of
each other. Or I'll say,
time.
well, wow, what about this or that? She'll go, Or, I was thinking the same thing. So we're on the same page. So we're telling you what our flaws are and what mistakes we make, but we're also trying to come up with solutions.
Yeah. To make us stop.
Yes.
Or do better.
It's just, I wanted people to understand that we don't have all the answers. And we may sit down and say, well, this and that and this and that. Well, everybody picks studs. Everybody is lacking in some way in part of the business.
And this business is very fluid, and it's constantly changing. So it's something that you're never going to have a definite answer because that answer could be wrong next
Well,
week.
and it's not like you're working retail where you're working for somebody else and they come over with a sheet and say, these are the things to be marked down today.
Yep.
These are the things that need to be set up, and here's a map of how they should be set up.
Yep.
I mean, we don't have that. We're just kind of
Flying by the seat of our pants.
that's about it. So,
Yep.
and we're the boss. So sometimes you just want to just tell me what to do.
You've done that to me.
Yeah. And then there's
And
other,
I'm the indecisive one, so I'm like,
and
I
then,
don't know.
And then there's other times you're like, I'm doing this because I want it this way. And the other person's like, okay, have at it.
And when I get that way with you, you just kind of...
Oh, I step back because it doesn't happen very often. And I salute and say, yes, ma'am. But, I mean, there are times where, one of us will come in and we're tired or we got so much going on and we'll just tell me what to do. I'll say, okay, go over there and straighten this and then refill this. And then she's like, okay. So, I mean, I tell you, that really does help.
You always tell me what to do.
You don't always listen. So
Rolling my eyes.
Yes. So, I guess we talked about some of our flaws for buying, selling. What do you think your biggest flaw overall, from start to finish, this entire reselling business? What do you think your biggest flaw is? And if you don't know, I'll tell you.
Oh, I know, because you already have. I'm like, oh, well, what do you think?
Well, I thought of your flaw before I thought of my own.
Know. Of course you did. Well, when the first word comes to mind is organized, but I think it's a little deeper than that. It's schedule for me. If I had better schedule, and a schedule I could stick with, I would be better organized.
Yeah.
But I'm not organized because I can't seem to be scheduled enough to be able to do what I need to do when I need to do it. So I do have piles and death piles.
It's not like you don't know.
Yeah.
Because some people, they truly don't know how to organize. They're at a complete and total loss how to organize things. And I don't think that's...
Nope.
I don't think that's your case at all. I just think scheduling is a big thing.
Yeah, and I was telling her earlier, I'm tired. I'm so tired anymore. And when I do get home and I sit and I eat or whatever, then it's like my brain just flat waves on me. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to sit here for a couple minutes and then I'm, have that moment of, candy for your brain. And I turn on Facebook or YouTube or,
Well, as long as you're watching Pudgy Picker, that's okay.
Who's that? No. But yeah, so my flaw in that is because I'm so tired, I tend to go the easy route, which is, I don't watch much TV or anything, but I mean, I'll do
sometimes
Facebook
you
or
need to play solitaire.
Pinterest or
sometimes you just need to let your brain out for recess.
But the problem is it doesn't want to come back in from play.
Come on, it's time to work.
Yeah, so then I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been sitting here for how long? And then I beat myself up all the way to bed because I'm like, I could have done this or I was going to do that. And now look, I have to go to bed. So that's my main flaw.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Let me think. Do I have any?
Yeah, now you think of me because I was thinking, well, I know what yours is. I don't know what mine is yet.
It's always easier to pull the rafter out of someone else's eye.
Yeah. Well, think about it. What do you think? What do you think my flaw is? Because that might shed some insight.
I don't know.
I think scheduling is big for everybody. Because I know when it comes to that, I'm like, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to this. I'm going to that. And then I get up and it looks like, 20 people ate at your dinner table and then put all the dishes in the sink.
Yeah.
Or I forgot I got to do that load of laundry. Or I forgot I got to call and do this, that, and the other. And then by the time I say, okay, I'm sitting down to do this work now, it's so late in the day, you're like, oh my gosh, where did the time go?
Yeah.
So, there is certain benefits for working for yourself.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely one of them because...
You have to be disciplined.
Yeah, because when you go into work, if you're working from your house, you got a whole ton of other stuff that needs attention. And if you have kids that have their own schedule and all that stuff, I mean, you got, and then of course if people look at you and go, well, you don't work, you don't have anything going, your schedule's flexible, why don't you do this, that, and the other? And it's like, No, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's part of me, is even me being more scheduled. I'm getting more organized. Even, I don't know. You know, it's funny. You can be as organized as anything, but if you don't follow that organizational system,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
Well, and I think that we've been an influence on each other too, because working together, I mean, we're sisters and everything, obviously, but you know, you get married, you have your own home, you have your own family, you have whatever, so you're not always as close. And then working together, we've gotten closer, but we've learned from each other. When we first started out on the booth, you know, we had different styles to some degree. You had an idea. I'm going to go in and this is going to be the way it is, and we're going to set this up this way. And then I was kind of like, well, I kind of like this or the other. And at first, we're kind of like looking at each other from the corners of the
like what?
Yeah, opposite corners of the room. Like, okay, who's going to win this? Kind of, you know, am I going to give in? Is she going to give in? But we learned to trust each other in our judgments too. I don't know why, but you know, I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back, but I think I'm real good at organizing for visual effect. And so when you bring stuff in, sometimes you have so much on your brain or whatever, and you do tend to sit stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I have the time to I go around behind her and and remove things.
Yeah, it's
around.
funny because she'll go over and she'll pick up when I just sit down. She goes, "Are you going to leave this here?" That means this is a really dumb place for it to go. But I'm just checking in case you were just setting it there and you were going to move it. So I have that moment of, you could take care of it. You do what you want to do with it.
Yeah. So you know, I think in working together this long that we've helped each other. We trust each other's judgment. We know. That you know, you can give me something that you have an idea or don't know how to do or set up, and I can do it, and vice versa, you know, or pricing or questions on things or whatever. So
yeah, it's nice to come
important.
in. Sometimes I'll go, because sometimes I'm just really, I don't know what to put on something, and I'll say, "What do you think?" And I have a basic idea, and then, you know, I'll be like, "Well, it's between this amount and this amount," and then I'll ask her, and she'll be right about what I thought, or maybe a teeny bit higher. So I mean, we can kind of bounce prices off of each other. But there are some things we know that you cannot change.
Yes.
And there's one thing I am thinking of for me that is I mean, it has to be this way. The booth has to be symmetrical.
Oh.
We have one big piece of furniture in the back, and it's like a mirror image on both sides, and it has to be that way because
OCD much?
Oh yeah. So that's one thing, because in our old space when we had a double space, there's no way we could have done that. But she'll say, "Well, I was thinking about now. Wait, I know you have this symmetrical thing, but just hear me out." And you know, I thought maybe this, that, and the other, and you know, we go from there. But I am very extreme in my. It has to, when you look at it from the aisle, it has to be balanced. It has to, you know, not look lopsided.
Yeah. And to some degree, you know, I understand your side. My thing is, and that's where the double booth was getting on my nerves. It's not necessarily that it has to be exactly the same side to side, but it has to make sense and it has to look visually appealing.
Yeah.
And I could never get it right over there.
We
just didn't have
never made sense.
No.
It was always, that's good enough for now.
Yeah.
And we just, I mean, if
Always
we would have,
looking for
now if we
something
would have
different.
if we would have been there longer, we would have
Yeah.
eventually
But we
ironed that
didn't-
out.
Yeah, but it was another case of when you start this out, a lot of times you don't have the money to go out and buy what you visualize would make the space right.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of mismatched. It's like getting your first apartment, you know.
Yep.
You have a lot of mismatched, broken, patched up. I mean, think about broken, patched up. I'm thinking of that one shelf. We didn't even come out of there. It ended up in the garbage because you went to move it when we were moving stuff out.
Apart.
And it fell apart.
It literally fell apart in the hour. Like, okay,
that's
guess
one
that's
less thing.
going out to the dumpster.
So, yeah, but that, you know, if you're going into this and you have a lot of money to dump into it, you can make it as gorgeous as you want to.
Yeah,
but
you can make it look like a magazine. But are you going to be making any money? No.
Yeah. So that's where it was with that. It was not visually appealing.
When you set up a booth and then you have it for a little while and you see other vendors are kind of switching their fixtures out, or you happen to see something at a garage sale or at an auction, we've bought plenty of pieces to go in our booth, you know, at an auction.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that takes time. It's not like just going in and say, I'll take 2 of those and 2 of those and 1 of those and 3 of these. It's not, it doesn't work that way. So it takes a while for everything to come together because you sit there and you go, man, this one corner, it needs something. And then when we see it,
how many times
we're
did we
like, there it
change
is.
that corner to the right?
Oh my goodness.
Everything
It was like
imaginable.
it was like a dumping space. It was like everything was all pretty, and then it was like at the end,
We'll do it this way because then we have more shelf space. But then the shelf is facing the back wall, and people aren't coming around that way because it's only a 3-foot space. So now we'll change it this way. And learning experiences, though.
Yeah, I mean we've really figured a lot of things out, and that's why people say, "Can you come over and look at our booth and give us some ideas?"
Oh, we don't mind helping out, either. So, their success is our success.
Yeah, you have to look at it that way.
Yeah,
because if you're helping somebody else or another vendor to get some ideas, you're just making everything look nicer.
Yeah.
So when people come in, they have an overall, wow, this is awesome, and not a, well, these certain booths are nice and the rest is kind of,
Yeah, benefits us all.
So, we all have things to work on, and it's.
I feel so much lighter.
Do you feel cleansed?
Oh.
So, I don't know. I think about these things, and sometimes you just get so irritated with yourself because you're like, why do I always do this? Why, it can be aggravating. And sometimes you got to, just mentally give yourself a shake and say, hey, you need to stop doing that. Or, hey, this is the way we're going to do it. Yeah, I mean, Kim and I have talked about this, and I think we talked about it before we started, where we said we literally have to be stern with ourselves and say out loud, wait, just stop.
Yeah.
And we do that, and I'm sure the average person who sees us talking and telling ourselves to stop is probably like, cuckoo. But there's sometimes you just gotta give yourself a mental shake.
Yeah, and I have a hard time making decisions.
No.
Shut up! And I put things like that off over and over. So I was just telling her before she came how I had to go, okay, stop. We are making a decision now.
Yeah.
This is the last time I'm going to do this 5 times.
Because if you think about it, you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about it, and you're thinking, if I just make this decision, then I don't have to think about it anymore.
That's exactly what it was.
But that's hard to do. Because sometimes you look at it and you go, that's an unfun thing, and I don't want to do an unfun thing today.
Yeah.
There's that saying about, what is it now? I'm going to totally screw this up. About swallowing the frog first or swallowing a frog first.
Yeah.
In other words, you have this certain amount of tasks you have to get done today, and you do the most unfun thing first and get it over with.
Yep.
And, that sounds like such great advice, but,
to
actually put it into action.
I hate making phone calls. I worked in a call center for 11 years. I hate phone calls. I hate to make phone calls.
Because nowadays, it takes forever to get to a live person, and you're going to be on hold forever listening to the same song play over and over again. Yeah.
It's a pain.
I totally get that. So, leave us some comments down below. What are some of the flaws or some of the things that you find yourself having to work on? Or in our discussion, has it brought anything to the surface for you? Is there anything similar that you're struggling with that we've talked about? What things are you picking up that you keep telling yourself, those don't really do so good, don't buy those anymore? I mean, we all have it, and, all sitting around and sharing it and getting it out in the open, and we can all learn from each other. So we hope that you enjoyed our podcast this week. Please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, or if you'd like to, you could email a question or a comment to me, jen@pudgypicker.com. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram under The Pudgy Picker. Is that all? Smash that like button.
Subscribe if you haven't already.
Because usually, once in a while, you can see me. I'm out there. I know I'm usually, in front of the microphone or behind the camera.
But hitting the like button is important, because I know even I will sit and watch through videos and not
I know.
But it really is important because it really does help the people that have the subscriptions going.
Yeah.
Makes you more visible.
Absolutely. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Also, Tanya from Thrifty Treasures and Tam from Tam's Place, I am doing now a monthly Hangouts show here on YouTube. And we talk about a variety of subjects, and you get to see us. So that's kind of nice. It is the first Wednesday of each month at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I know Tam and I are both in Eastern, and Tanya is an hour behind us. She's in Texas.
I'm sorry. No.
She's in Texas, and then Tam is in Kentucky, and then me in Ohio. So, okay, well, that's it. We will see you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.